There is nothing that can separate us. There is nothing that can separate us. For your love encompasses me. Your love encompasses me. Saying I belong to you, you belong to me for eternity. Saying I belong to you, you belong to me for eternity. Saying I belong to you, you belong to me. Saying I belong to you, you belong to me. For your love encompasses me. Your love encompasses me. There is nothing that can separate us. There is nothing that can separate us, Jesus. For your love encompasses me. Your love encompasses me. Saying I belong to you, you belong to me for eternity. Saying I belong to you, you belong to me for eternity. Saying I belong to you, you belong to me. Saying I belong to you, you belong to me. For your love encompasses me. Your love encompasses me. Your love encompasses me. Your love encompasses me. Saying I belong to you, you belong to me. Saying I belong to you, you belong to me for eternity. Jesus, saying I Okay, thank you so much for watching. My name is Sear Stevens. This is my first YouTube channel try. A little raw, but hopefully it'll get better. I wanted to tell you a little bit about who I am and my testimony. I was raised in a family in Hollywood. My mom was a songwriter, my dad, director, writer, producer. Grew up very much in the Hollywood lifestyle. At the age of 10, unfortunately, my parents got divorced, which was a traumatic thing for me. Up until then, I had gone to Curtis and Founders Elementary School and was kind of raised with a positive mental attitude from Science of the Mind. But at the age of 10, after my parents separated, I met this guy who actually turned me on to cocaine. He was only 13. I was 10 years old when I did my first line of cocaine, which is crazy. That opened the door of drugs to me, which I liked, but I held it together until I was 14. 14, I got kicked out of a junior high private school called Villanova Preparatory in Ojai, California. Then I got moved to Hollywood High. At that time, I was really getting into drugs and cocaine and partying and actually started robbing houses, which is crazy. I was robbing houses because cocaine was very expensive and I had quite a habit at an early age. I was hiding that, but my parents knew I smoked weed, but they didn't know I was really getting into freebasing and crack. That was bad. At the age of 17, tested out of high school, took the California High School Proficiency Examination, and I started working and following this band called the Grateful Dead. It's crazy because I worked for this guy who was a father of my friends who would pay me every Friday, and he'd give me the alternative. Do you want me to pay you in money or do you want me to pay you in weed? True story. Growing up in Hollywood was nuts. But anyway, at the age of 17, started following the Grateful Dead. For those of you who don't know what that is, the Grateful Dead was a major rock band in the 70s and 80s and middle of the 90s. A group of people followed them called Deadheads. At the least, there were like 2,000. At the highest point, I think there were 25,000 Deadheads who used to follow this band around from concert to concert. I did it for 3 years. It was a great vibe of peace, love, and drugs. Very much a hippie culture, which I gravitated to. And, just used to just party and hang out with my friends and get high all the time and play music and write poetry. And it was a great subculture to me, and it was about peace and love, so I felt I was in the right direction, I didn't really believe in evil. My mom had this Christian experience when I was 14, almost 15, and I came home and she had broken my bong and threw out all my albums, and it was a crazy time. And I was fine with her believing in Jesus, but I was like, this is nuts, and how can you believe he's the only way, and the exclusivity of it all, and I just felt like it was very self-righteous. And I told her I didn't believe in evil, and what I believed for a long time was that evil was the fabrication of people in power to use as a device to control other people, to make them capitalist servants or slaves. And as soon as you broke free of that, especially you can imagine the amount of acid that I did and where I was in my subculture, I was experienced, and then you could see it for what it really was. Well, when I was 21, I went to this party at Pine Mountain with a group of my Deadhead friends. We were called the Sprinkle Family. And we went there to see the Sprinkle Family band play and to hang out for the weekend and party, because the Grateful Dead wasn't playing during this time, and this is what we do when the Grateful Dead wouldn't party. And so I got there with my normal group of friends, and got there and they invited me into a tent to smoke some hookah with some hash, and I said, no, not right now, let me just get my tent situated and set up, because I like to get things set up first, so then I can just really party and not worry about it and crash out. So then, all of a sudden, God split the veil between the natural and what I call the supernatural, or some people would say the spirit and the flesh. For me, I knew there was a spiritual world because I had astral projected a couple times, and I was really getting into Carlos Castaneda and power spots, and the understanding that this is just, my body is a machine, my spirit, my soul is not inhibited by this body. But at this point, I wasn't high on mushrooms or anything. And just like I was looking at my friends, I saw demons. Different sizes, different shapes. I smelled them. I could hear them. But let me clarify, this was not with what I would even call these senses that I'm so used to, but it was different, but it was very real and present. And just like I saw my friends, I saw these spiritual entities. And I heard them, and there was laughing without joy, and they were mocking my friends as they were getting high. It overwhelmed me. This went on for about 3 to 4 minutes, and after a minute and a half, I said, well, if they're around my friends and super around my friends, maybe they're in me. And so what I did is I went to this Volkswagen van, and I looked in the mirror, and sure enough, I saw these demons around me and superimposed on me, and it really scared me. I say now as a joke, it scared the hell out of me. But literally, because all this flood of feelings came, I was like, well, if there's demons, then there's a hell. And if there's a hell, there's probably a heaven. If there's a heaven, the only context that made sense to me at that time was some of the stuff that I had heard about Jesus. And I just started running, and I ended up on this hill, and those of you who know Pine Mountain, Ohio will know this. It's a beautiful vista view of the ocean in the valley, but at that point it wasn't beautiful for me because part of me just wanted to run and jump off. But before I actually acted on that impulse, I heard this still small voice, like a voice in my spirit said, instead of you throwing your life away or giving it up, why don't you give it to me? And I was like, who are you? And I felt like that was Jesus. And so I said, okay, Jesus, if you're real, I'm sorry. And at that moment, my desire, my drug addiction was gone. And I've been clean and sober now for 29 years. Now, don't get me wrong, I've fallen into other sins and other stuff, and as we go on in this channel, I am all about openness and brokenness and being real with who I am, but that has happened. Jesus set me free at that moment 100% from my cravings for drugs. And I've been trying